Morning. I gotta fix this. Morning. Who's awake? You guys raring to go today? I gotta get my coffee. Look it. This is my little French press. I put my organic coffee in here with some cinnamon. It's so good. I love Mondays. Okay, so I'm trying to do my coffee, so just hold on. All right. It's actually a 2-cup of coffee day, and I really don't typically do that. I usually just have my morning coffee at like 5:30 a.m. and then I go to tea after that. But today's an extra crazy day. All right. So it's Monday. You think it's a typical work day, and I'm wearing a baseball hat in my favorite place on earth, Eduardo's Beach Shack, which I'm going to talk about today when we're talking about goals and desires and having faith in yourself and getting what you want out of life at your own level of happiness. So I started talking about, I just love this song. I just love it. It's like it's my song. So the other day when we were talking about the book, Encourage, and I wanted to cover some of the topics in that and the theme, right? Because now we're into spring, and we want to have spring be all about growing as a person, growing as an individual. You don't have to be like me or like your best friend or your next door neighbor. You need to be like you and be the best you can be, and you have to figure out what makes you happy. So the first chapter of the book, right, talks about desire, like a burning desire. And some people come to me and they're literally like, I have no idea what my burning desire is. So you have to figure that out. You have to kind of figure out what you really want in your life. A lot of people think it's money. That's what they think it's money. But it's really not money. So it's what money brings to you, right? It's the things that, whether that's freedom, independence, a place that you want to travel to, maybe your car's broken down, maybe you've been renting an apartment and you're like done with it and you just want to have your own place. It is the passion about what the money brings to you at the end. Now, for some people, believe it or not, the money actually brings them some type of powerful feeling, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you do something good with it. Okay, you can be an uber unbelievably rich person and do amazing things, or you can be like Bernie Madoff, right? So Bernie Madoff had a burning desire to have multi-millions of dollars, and then what did Bernie Madoff do? He screwed people over, destroyed his children's lives, destroyed his wife's life, and then he ended up in jail. The other day I was watching the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, you want to talk about someone who, yep, they made tons of money, but honestly, what did they do on their way, right? Like burning people down on the way down. So, we have to figure out the best way to achieve, right, in the most positive way possible. So now, some people may say, I would consider myself to be like an average person, right? I'm just an average person. And I think sometimes when the personalities or the people that are out there are so big and so gigantic, and we try to relate to them, you feel so far disconnected because of where they are compared to where you are that it doesn't seem attainable, right? And so the other thing that they cover when you're talking about planning your life and trying to figure out how to have abundance and happiness is attainable goals. Right? You need to have attainable goals. If I said to my son, I want you to have a goal of being the best football player around. Well, my son's like a little guy. He's this little guy. And he's played football for high school, but he's never going to be an NFL player. But if I said, I want that to be your goal and you're going to achieve that, that's not a realistic, attainable goal. That's not his gift and talent he came into the world with. Not. So what is your attainable goal, your BFG? Do you have a BFG? Do you know what your BFG is? I'm going to be planning a workshop, right, down the road to help all of you get your vision board together, figure out what your BFG is. By the way, that's big fucking goal. Shh. big fucking goal. Do you know what yours is? Because you need to have one. Then you back it up. You have the big one, then you back it up and you have all the other little ones. And as you learn to carve out and do the little ones, then the big one seems attainable. So I'm going to go back and talk about one of the big things that I accomplished when I was younger. Not now, because some people go, oh, Kristen, you have a nice house, and you go away in the summer, and you travel in the winter, and, you know, blah-de-dee, blah-de-dee, blah, right? And I don't have a 9-to-5 job, so I get to kind of do what I want, when I want, with who I want, and how much time I want. To me, that's always been my dream of success, right? I want to be surrounded by awesome people. I want to be able to kind of pick my own schedule, and my schedule is to work my ass off, but I mean around that. Like today, I have a goal that I'm accomplishing. It was on my vision board for 2019. It was one of my check things. My bathroom, my kids' bathroom in my house is destroyed. I haven't touched it since we lived in this house for 16 years, except for like fixing a broken toilet, but it's time. It's gross, and it's time, and that was on my goal. Not gutting the whole thing, but like the ceiling keeps falling down, and the vanity is just disgusting, and yeah, me, okay? I have another business that I do real estate, and my kid's bathroom is gross. So that's happening today. Baseball out. That's why we're doing this. I got to do some running around. Most of my work today is going to be on the phone. I have one meeting later with, I'm hoping is going to work out great. She's going to help me build out my YouTube channel for Beyond Fearless. And I got to start cataloging all these videos, and I have absolutely no idea how to do that. Nor do I want to attempt to do it, because when you're smart, you find other smart women who do smart things, and you delegate out. Don't try to do it all yourself, because then you just burn down bad. Okay. I'm a little excited that it's Monday. I'm sorry. All right. So going down the rabbit hole here, but I want to stay on track with talking about how you attach desire to something that you want, and then how you accomplish it. And some people may say it's easier said than done, but I want you to really, really believe, and you have to believe this, and the only way that you believe it is if you experience it. I'm going to tell you my story, but when I said it out, in my gut, I said, I'm going to do this, but you don't actually believe that it's really going to happen until it happens. And then you're like, wow, I actually achieved that. And so people who do a lot of achieving, the reason why they keep achieving is because they've done it all these little times, and they're like, wow, this actually works. I set my mind to it. I have hyper focus on it. I believe in it. I have my mantra, my affirmations. I'm doing the whole and I'm putting in the time. And then they have amazing, oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. So let's go back to the story at hand, right? Okay, so here's my story that I want to share with you to let you know that all things are possible. Remember, my background is, you know, my parents were divorced when I was 4. My parents didn't have any money. I never went to college. I attended a vocational school. From then, I went on to cosmetology, went on to become a stylist. I did that for a few years. I didn't really have a formal background in anything that had to do with running a business, but I had a ton of ambition. Say, ton of ambition, okay? So, when I also had fear, and let me tell you something, fear can drive you in a positive way, right? So you can be afraid, and it can lead to you having vicious independence. So I'm gonna give you the example, all right? So now I live on my own starting at age 19, and I have, through failure, right, through failure of living on my own, had to get up and figure it out, And I failed many, many times. I had a lot of issues with trying to live on my own at a young age. And my dad was awesome, because my dad would say to my mom, even though they were divorced, let her fail. She needs to fall down. And I was his only daughter. What? Yeah, okay? He could have so easily just been like, here you go, here's all the money, let me just save you. Didn't, ever. So I had lack. I had to figure it out. I didn't really think to myself, someone needs to bail me out, or I need to marry some guy with a ton of money to get me out of this. No, never even crossed my mind, to be honest with you. I don't know, it was in my head. I had to figure it out for myself. So because of all of that experience, right? And I told the story before in a video a long time ago. I did something that was a form of kindness for somebody without thinking I was ever going to get anything back from it. And then that person in turn took me to my first Caribbean vacation. And when that experience happened to me, it set in my mind that that is what I want for the rest of my life. That place of beautiful beaches and traveling, I need to go there every year. That's it. That's my goal. So does it take money to do that? Yeah, it does. But I couldn't see how I was going to connect the two because I didn't have any money. My parents didn't have any money. My parents never went on Caribbean vacations, ever. We went camping in a tent in Maine, okay? That was vacation when I was growing up, a tent. That was it. By the way, I can survive in the woods, but that's a topic for another day. So, and I won't go camping ever again. The premise behind that switch that went off in my head, right? That click that went off in my head when I went there and said, "This is whole other world. This is a beautiful place, and I don't understand. Like, I need to go here." I literally cried to my father and said, "I will never ever let that ever wave by. I'm going to do whatever it takes for me to have that life. Even if it's just once a year, I don't care." So I get married, and I start literally like hyperventilating that I'm going to lose my independence. I am living in total fear, not about marrying the guy, not about getting married and having kids. That, of course, was a beautiful thought. But I had a part of me that was scared that I was going to lose my independence. And what I had done along the way, because I lived on my own, I bought and sold real estate, I moved out of one shithole, fixed it up, moved into another shithole, fixed it up, moved into another shithole, fixed it up. I did that by myself, on my own, 4 properties in a row, and I socked away some money, right? So I get married, and we sell the townhouse I'm living in, and we move into our house, the one you're looking at. And we moved into our house, and everything was great, but I was getting nervous because my son was young, and I said to my husband a couple times, "Listen, just to let you know, I'm always going to go away in the winter. Always, no matter what." Now, in 17 years, I missed one trip. One, because I was 8 months pregnant with my daughter, couldn't travel. It was the worst winter of my life. But I was so determined that I was going to be there. So one year, again, my son was a baby, we traveled to Aruba, and there was the Aruba Surf Club was being built. It was under construction. And the real estate market and the economy was not all that great. So the economy was not that great. I walked through the surf club, and it was for ownership, for timeshare ownership. But Marriott did things completely different. It wasn't like, you know, when you go to a place and you buy timeshare and you own like week 7, week 6. It wasn't like that. If you became an owner, you could travel for a week in the winter, at any of the Marriott timeshares they were building. And all of the timeshares were 2-bedroom, 2-bath, full kitchen, full laundry, da-da-da. So instantly, of course, and they have all these things for kids. I fell in love, madly in love with the whole entire concept, and that was it. Like, that was it. Nothing was going to change my mind. I looked at my husband, I said, "I'm buying." I said, "Because if I own this, you can never say no to me about a vacation." I was so living in fear that if I had another child, that I was going to lose my ability to create financial wealth, which you do. I mean, it depends on how your life is structured and where you're at, I guess, when you have your kids. But as an independent, subcontractor type worker, although I had the ability to do sales, when you're pregnant and then you have a baby, you lose some control. As a woman, you lose some control. That's it. You're breastfeeding. It's not the easiest thing to go to work. And God bless those women that actually do all that stuff and go back to work. But I don't want to go off track here. So I was so afraid, and this is where fear can motivate you if you look at it the right way, so afraid that I was going to lose my independence, and I wanted to make sure that thing that I wanted so bad, I had that burning desire. I wanted it. Nothing was going to stop me, period. So, of course, he looked at me and said, we just bought a house, and we're not buying this. You're crazy. And I said, yeah. Because I had a secret savings account. I had stashed away some money. I had planned. I had vision board. I had carved it out. I socked away a little bit because I wanted to be at a certain place doing a certain thing at a certain time without anybody saying, you can't do that. There's a lot of power. There's a lot of power behind somebody telling you you can't do X. Now, if you don't think you can do X, that's a different story, right? I believed I could do it, and I wasn't going to let anybody tell me that I can't. Now, that may be a form of stubbornness, or sometimes people can even think it's arrogance. Whatever you want to think it is, I don't really care. But dissect it however you want. It's the burning desire part. It's the part that you have to dig in so deep inside yourself to say, what the hell do I want? I don't care if it's just you have an old car and you want a new car. And you say, well, it's not in the family budget. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of ways that you can figure out how to make a car payment every month. There is, right? Stop watching The Bachelor and do something different. Okay, don't yell at me about that. I know you're gonna. Don't. There's a lot of ways. Okay, that we live now in a world where you can sell shit, you can gig shit, you can put in an extra 10 hours if you're in sales. There's other things that you can do, right? Let me go backwards. So I take out the secret money and I buy the timeshare, right? Okay, I buy it. I have traveled every year to the Caribbean, except for the time I was pregnant with my daughter. Every year I've gone to the Caribbean. One way or another, through thick or thin, through illnesses, through stress with work, through all kinds of things. That is my BFG. You have to have a BFG in your life. You have to have a big fucking goal. You have to. That's what gives you your burning desire. So this past year, when I went to Aruba, I bought myself a t-shirt. And when I put this t-shirt on, the thing I say to myself now is, right, we're moving up. You're getting to that age, Kristen. You gotta start thinking about, time a little bit more. That's why I'm trying not to waste any time. So my goal was to go away for a week every season, every winter, which I'm doing. In this past winter, I did 10 days, right? Now I have kids still in school, and I have to deal with how society handles that. Can't take your kids out of school, blah, 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 blah. Such crap. You know what your kids remember the most about school when you ask them about their elementary school a lot? Their friends, the fun teachers, and field trips. Do you remember we used to go on field trips? Trips, traveling, actually doing stuff like that. That's what kids, I think, remember the most, right? Also really bad experiences. They remember that, unfortunately. So I don't really give a crap about taking my kids out of school a few extra days. I took my kids out of school a lot when we traveled. But that's just because it's all about my BFG. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to have my life stop because society says, oh, you cannot have family vacations and you cannot create family memories and you cannot live your goals because you have to live by this 180-day calendar. Not me. Nope. So don't let stuff stop you. Don't. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Honestly, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? The kids are going to have a couple extra days on their check mark. They missed school. Really? Do you think that matters when they're 32 years old? No, it doesn't. So the BFG for me now, going forward, is it's going to be more than a week. It's going to be more than 10 days. My goal, by the time I'm 58 years old, is that I'm going to spend 4 to 6 weeks traveling in the winter. Now that might be long weekends, that might be, 2 straight weeks in Aruba, maybe I go to St. Thomas, maybe I go here, maybe I go there. So that may sound interesting to you, may sound ridiculous of a goal. You may think, what's the point of that? There could be a million other things. Now, keep in mind, that does not prioritize health and well-being and taking care of the people around you, right? The BFG, when people say, oh, well, I just want my goal to be, healthy and my kids. Okay, that is a completely different conversation. Everybody should be focusing on their health and their children and their family. But stop using that to say, I don't want to, some people will say, that's my goal, I don't want to have a different goal because it'll take away from my children. Okay, just knock it off. Knock it off. You can have your BFG and you can still take care of your health and your children. Come on, look around. There's a gazillion people that do that. It's totally fine. What do you need to do to figure out what your burning desire is? There's something that you really want in your life. So what happens is you see it, you see this trip, you see that place, you see that car, you see that house, you see that other job, you see whatever it is that you see, and instantly, within a matter of minutes, your brain goes, you have no time, you have no money, not going to happen. Do you ever notice that? My husband, or my parents, or my sister, or my boss. Like somebody starts popping up in your head as soon as you map out the BFG and then right away, boom, goes away. Why? Why? Something needs to change inside that spot. Something. I don't know. I don't know what you're doing with your time. I don't know what you're doing with your money. I don't know what you're doing with your focus. And I don't know what you're doing with the words that you're using in your head. Do you know what they are? Some people just say, this is good, I'm good. I'm right here, this is good. I'm in my comfort zone, and I'm good. Some people start to feel the stretch of the elastic band, which I talk about all the time, right? You start to stretch, and you're like, oh God, this is really uncomfortable. This is really uncomfortable. I'm gonna go back. I don't wanna stretch. The stretching is uncomfortable. When we grow, we stretch, just like the elastic band, and it becomes an uncomfortable feeling. And guess what? That's how it's supposed to be. People don't tell you that. But when you're growing and you're learning, or you're moving into a different realm, you're going to have a lot of shit that's going to come at you that's going to be uncomfortable. This is something I usually talk to people about when I'm doing one-to-one mentoring. Okay, so you're going to get some value, a little bit of value tip out of this. I'm going to give it to you now. There are people right now that have a job. Okay, they have a job, they go to 9 to 5, whatever it might be, and they like their job, and their job pays them their money, it maybe gives them their health benefits, whatever it might be. But they really, really, really want to do something else. They have this other thing that they really want to do. They're afraid of the bridge between the two. Because in order to do the second one, something has to happen to the first one. Okay? And even in sales, I talk about this. You may have to invest a shitload of time and money to go from here to here, and that in between is what sometimes I call the poverty period. You go through a place of you're going to be broke for a little while. Okay, you're going to have less money in your bank account because you either took a leap to do that other thing that you really, really want to do, or you have to spend a ton of money to launch something bigger with inside your own small business. And you're like, okay. You know you need to do it, whatever it is, whether that's that marketing thing, or you need to stop doing something so you can write a book, or you want to do something where you have a freedom job where you can work from home, but you know you have to make up all that other stuff like health benefits and da-da-da, and you go, and you get scared. There is that in between. That's the elastic band. That's that stretch. But if you have your BFG, if you have that big gigantic goal, and you are focusing on that every single day, okay? I have pictures of my stuff everywhere. I have notes. I have t-shirts. I have reminders to myself that I will work for every penny to get there. I'm not asking for anybody to give me any money. I will work. I will trade money for value. If I'm giving you value in some way, in one business or another, in exchange, money comes in, and that's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. So, just remember, when you want to take a leap into something new or change your ways so that you are focusing on important things like your big goals, and you really, really want to accomplish them, you need to have a plan. You need to have a plan, and you also need to get rid of the blocks in your head. Time, money. You need to figure out how to work around that. Your happiness and your goals are independent for yourself. It doesn't matter what Joe thinks or Susie thinks. It doesn't matter if somebody else is trying to tell you to be, up here. I'm not telling you to be up here. But I want you to feel fulfilled, and that fulfillment can happen very easily when you stop worrying about what people are thinking about you, and you have a game plan to launch into something else that makes you happier. So, happy Monday. I hope this is helpful to you today. Again, like I said, I'm a little excited because I'm doing my projects today. I have goals in mind that I'm going to start to get accomplished. I'm super pumped up about getting those accomplished. Check, check, check on my goals, and I have a lot of other exciting stuff that's coming up this week. Oh, one thing that's not exciting. This is just a little sidebar. On Wednesday, I have to have dental work done. If you think that, money's not everything, here's what pisses me off. I have to have one tooth taken care of, a crown or whatever it is I have to have done, because I had all those mercury fillings in my mouth, and by the way, they're toxic. Get them out. If you have mercury fillings that you've had in your teeth since you were a kid, get them out. If you have to do one tooth at a time, get them out. They're toxic. I had it in my blood. It's a whole long story, whatever. So I have to have a crown done. $1,500. I don't have dental insurance. $1,500 for one tooth. What? Complete highway robbery. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I am not excited about that. So I have to go work even harder now to make up for the fact that I have to pay for one tooth. So I may not be on live on Wednesday, but I have my big goal in mind. I will deal with it, swipe that card. I'll be pissed off for about 12 hours, and then I'll get over it and move on, because that's how life is, right? Expenses come along, and they just piss you off, right? But got to have the secret savings account. Got to make sure you're prepared for that kind of stuff. So I'm going to finish my coffee. If you haven't grabbed a copy, remember what I told you. I'm going to try to stick with the principles behind this, because one of the things we're missing in life is our principles are all screwed up. Unfortunately, we don't have a faith strong enough out there that we used to have, where people would follow principles. Principles now are just kind of off whack. So I'm going to try to stay on topic. If you don't have time to read an actual copy of Think and Grow Rich, believe it or not, you can actually watch or listen to the entire book on YouTube. There's a couple of different variations, but the principles are put out there. You can download it, obviously, on Audible or Kindle if you want to do it that way. But the principles are really important, because it kind of attaches to everything that I talk about in today's world. It does go back a long time time ago. It is what started this book, which a lot of people know, has to do with law of attraction. Law of attraction is only good when you have all the other principles built around it. So, happy Monday. I will probably see you tomorrow. We're going to see how the rest of my day goes, and try to work on your BFG.